at today's age, it's very convenient for anybody and everybody to buy cars because of the jobs and job opportunities, and because of the banks lending loans. But do you still feel that the prices of cars are touching sky? And I've observed this in the past 2-3 years. So do you feel that the pricing is really touching the sky? I mean, in the last
It
2-3
is there,
years.
but there's lots of reasons for that. There's geopolitical issues, there's taxation, there is rising costs of materials. So it's a lot of things. In our country, it's a lot of taxation as well,
Yeah.
which is raising the prices of cars.
Do you think that India is still lagging behind in terms of technologies in automotive sector, or we're at par with other countries?
I don't think so. I think we're getting cars that have the technology that's on par with other countries. If at all, a lot of the ADAS systems don't function here simply because we don't have the right lane markings, or we don't have the right infrastructure for those things to function. But if we did, the technology is all here.
Since we're talking about ADAS, do you think that the future is self-driven cars?
In India, you think that a car could drive itself without being thoroughly confused?
Yeah, I know.
I remember asking this, I was years ago at a Bosch conference where they were testing self-driving cars, and this is, I'm talking almost 10 years ago, 11 years ago maybe. And they were testing some parts of ADAS, like the simpler versions, not fully autonomous.
Yeah.
And I was asking him, the CEO at that time, Mr. Bernard Bow, I said, do you think that these technologies will come to India? And he looked at me and he just smiled. He says, I don't think even I can drive there yet. Like, forget about a car on its own. I think there's too many improbables in this country. Like I said, the infrastructure doesn't allow it. So if you're talking to me about India, I don't see it in the future anytime soon. But if you're talking about globally, yes, there are. And there are a lot of places that they're running pilot projects, autonomous vehicles that are picking up people, dropping them. You've heard about it in California with Teslas and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things happening globally where cars are driving themselves, but how boring.
I think about 6-7 months back, I saw some maybe ad or some video wherein the car was flying. Do you think something of that sort is happening anywhere in the
There's
world?
lots of things being tested, and there's always going to be development, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at our roads, they're so congested. If I had a flying car, I'd be damn happy with it.
Yeah.
Be able to get to somewhere very much faster, but then the skies would get crowded. So, it's a quid pro quo. I think as technology develops, we kind of overburden the infrastructure with whatever it is, and then it has to move to the next level and the next level. So development will always happen.
Share with us a funny or embarrassing moment in your motoring career.
Embarrassing moments, probably many, but things that I have to remember. So many times I remember, even when we're shooting or filming, because you're getting into a car with left-hand drive, right-hand drive, I'll be standing there and the cameraman will say action, and I get into the wrong side of the car and then realize, oops, it's not the driver's seat, So lots of stupid things happen to us all the time. Big moments, funny moments. I remember being on one of these rallies, and I'm not going to take names of countries and people, but one of the countries was to prepare their cars and send it, and suddenly I had this crisis call that, listen, the cars are not being released from customs. So I said, why, what's happened? So they said the cars have come without carnet. Now a carnet is a car passport. So like we have passports, a car needs a passport to travel from country to country. And that customs was, though it was a governmental thing, and we were saying, listen, these cars have to be released. The rally starts in the morning. The government said, look, we are tourism doing the rally. Customs is in a different department. By the time these wheels start working, we'll release it, but it's going to take time. So somehow we had to get these carnets issued overnight, and it was... Finally, I went up to that team leader, and then we got it all issued. We got the cars out, and I asked him, I said, what in your right mind prompted you to send the cars without a carnet? Like everything was written, everything was made clear to you guys. So he turned around very embarrassed and he said, look, our team was chosen 3 days ago to run this event because we were all not prepared. And he's saying, I'm going to say it exactly how he told me, मैंने एक को बोल दिया कार नेट बना लो, मैंने दूसरे को बोल दिया तू गाड़ी लोड कर दे, मैंने तीसरे को बोल दिया अभी तू टीम मेंबर्स चूज कर ले. And we just divided the duties and we did it. He said last minute when the car had to get onto the plane, I asked the बंदा कार नेट किधर है? He said अब लेके आया एक नेट गाड़ी को कवर करने के लिए. He's saying अब क्या? He's saying अब तो गाड़ी जानी ही थी तो मैंने चढ़ा दी प्लेन पे. And that was the way it was, and it was hilarious and I could not stop laughing. I said, are you serious? He's saying yeah, and he actually grumbled to me that, you know, like India is making 24 carnets, तो 2 और क्यों नहीं बना लिया उन्होंने, you know. So it was quite hilarious. But yeah, those are funny moments that I'll remember, you know, all my life.
So, does your far out family, friends, before they buy a car, do they reach out to you and ask suggestions?
Family, friends, families.
They all do?
People from Instagram, random people who will meet me at an airport. Yeah, anybody who knows me or has seen the show will often reach out for car advice through bio people. They'll say, oh, if you know her, can you ask her, you know what?
There was a person, I'm forgetting his name was Dhawan something.
Tutu Dhawan?
Tutu Dhawan.
Yeah.
He used to, I think, take all these questions and he used to answer them.
As well.
I mean, according to the budgets and, you know, needs, he used to advise a lot of cars.
Yeah.
Do you do that as well in your shows?
We used to. We started off doing it. It used to be called Ask Autocar Anything. And we still have a online portal called Ask Autocar Anything, and people send in mails and we answer them every day. So that still runs, but we stopped doing it on the show a while ago because then a lot of people started doing it and then we said, okay, we change and we do something different. But yeah, we used to answer questions typically on which car to buy, what car to buy. We used to have live phoners call in and talk to us and stuff like that.
Tell us about, you know, the schedule when you have the live shoot, when you have to actually give your reviews about the car. How exactly that happens, and how much crew do you have? Do you have somebody or the cameraman sitting next to you shooting? Do they get scared when you drive that fast?
Oh my lord, no, my cameramen are absolute sweethearts. They all trust me completely.
Yeah.
In fact, sometimes to a fault. They trust me so much that I have to often come back and check, are you standing in the right place? Don't stand there, because they trust me. They'll think that I'll, you know, but often you know that, listen, if something goes wrong, I won't be able to avoid you. So please get off that side of the road. So they trust us implicitly. They do some crazy kind of things to shoot what they shoot. Their lives are, I think they're the heroes of our show, actually, if you ask us, not us. They deserve all the credit for the kind of shots that they get and how they run around in the heat and where all they hang out of a car and over a car and through a car to get those shots. Is completely crazy. I can't even look through a camera lens in a moving car as much as they do. So I don't know how they do it, but a great bunch of guys. Normally I go out with 1 or 2 cameramen depending on what the shoot is. If I'm shooting a comparison, if I'm shooting a single car. If I'm shooting a single car, it's generally 1 cameraman and me, and we just go out and we shoot whatever needs to be done. And of course we have a tracking car so that we can, you know, follow the car, track the car, things like that. So that's pretty much the crew we have. Like I said, we get out at sometimes 6 in the morning, return home 6, 7, 8 at night, depending on how long the shoot takes.
Yeah.
Sometimes weather plays true and you have to sit and wait. Often very far outdoors. I think a lot of people ask me this strange question, how does it feel to be a woman in a man's world? I said, nothing else matters, it's only lose. You know, toilets in India are the big problem. I said, that's my biggest challenge, believe it or not. But because you're in the outdoors all the time.
Sorry to cut you here, but I want to understand your perspective, because I certainly not very happy when somebody says that. But do you think that it is actually a place for men only and it's not for women?
I don't think so. I've never thought so. If I thought so, I probably wouldn't be here. I don't think anything in the world, anything, and I mean it vice versa also, that there's no place that's only for a woman or there's no place that's only for a man. It is what you want to do, your own belief in yourself, your inherent talent, and where you see yourself. And I think as long as you are happy with what you're doing, it shouldn't matter male, female, who you are, pronoun, gender, all that doesn't matter. I think the belief in yourself and the confidence in what you do and knowing your subject is what matters.
So do you,
then anybody can do anything.
Do you give it back to them when you hear something?
I don't give it back. I see the perspective. I see why they think that. Very often, I didn't for a long while actually, to be honest. And just now when we did up our new office, I dug out a whole bunch of old pictures. We often get them on a trip where they've taken a group photograph and they've been lying in my house, and I said, finally I'll have a place to put them. And there's bunches and bunches of pictures of like about 20 men, 30 men, me in the middle, 20 men, 30 men, me in the middle. So you realize why people think like that, because they've often seen it like that. So it's not unusual. And let's face it, at the time when I got into it, not a lot of women wanted to be opening out a car or being under a car and repairing a suspension or things like that. It wasn't something that women did. But I think that's more conditioning. Nowadays, you see factory floors full of women. You see Ola factories run completely by women. MG's got more and more women coming into their factory floors. Most companies are inducting a lot of women into their factory floors. Most women are taking up jobs like this. So I think it's changing. I don't think there's reason to give it back to anybody. I think it's more an explanation to people that I don't think gender, age, size, weight, whatever you may think matters. When you set out to do something that you want to do, you have the confidence in yourself, you know your own subject, you'll get your respect, regardless of what else is around you.
What do you think is the biggest struggle here in India is for a lot of manufacturers? Because we have seen time and again where the big manufacturers are coming into India and then they're winding up their businesses, which eventually is affecting the economy and the employment here.
I think it is the stability of policy. Automotive policy hasn't really been stable in India. They've had to make, like, suddenly we decide we want to go to BS6 and everybody has to make transitions. Then suddenly there'll be EV, then suddenly there'll be ethanol, then suddenly, the direction is not clear and focused and one path stage by stage charted out. We had a FAME subsidy, now the FAME subsidy has been rolled back. So, it's, we need a clear, 10-15 year plan for automotive manufacturers to succeed. It's a long lead time industry to develop a product, to, or change a line to the way it manufactures, or to fine tune. In between, suddenly we decided 6 airbags. 6 airbags is also not going to save anybody's life if they don't wear seatbelts in the back seat. So first, implement the right thing. Have a seatbelt reminder in the back seat also. Have that alarm that is so freaking annoying and cannot be switched off that people will wear the seatbelt. So do the basics first. I think we just need a clear policy, some clear advisors on how things should progress forward. That will really help the industry a lot.
No, but talking about BS4 or BS6, does that not happen across the world, or it's just happening here in India?
So people have moved in stages, they'll BS4, BS5, then or Euro 4,
so
Euro 5,
Euro 6.
We went from 4 to 6. Okay. And we expected manufacturers to do that in record time. It's not that easy. You have product planning, you have to change things, there are a lot of things that go with the car as well. And now, even I'm giving you a small example, like when you now say 6 airbags, a lot of electronics in a car, the whole platform of a car is designed to carry things in a certain way. You can't just suddenly retrofit these things. It doesn't work like that.
Okay.
So my point is exactly that it requires planning. Yes, okay, if you realize that there's something wrong and it needs to be corrected, you need to give a decent enough lead time for it. Sure, have these policies in place, but have a planning and say, okay, in the next 2 years, this will happen, next 4 years, and then stick to that plan. Governments change, policies change, and everything is always in turmoil. You remember at one point in Delhi, they banned diesels. Now imagine manufacturers who've invested so much money in production of these cars. What are they going to do? It takes a hit, no? You can't just do these things overnight.
That's why, especially in India, Maruti and Honda, they decided not to do diesel cars. I think. We will again rewind a little, and we'll go towards your childhood. Tell us about your upbringing and where was it and what was.
So Bombay, I grew up in Mumbai. Not to say that now, but I grew up in Mumbai. Born, brought up over there. Went to school in Cathedral School. Pretty much did my entire schooling there. College was at HR College. Doing commerce, as I told you. Upbringing was pretty simple. My mum used to work for the British High Commission. My dad, like I said, ran the workshop. Very often after school I'd be picked up, I'd go to the workshop, I'd spend time there. A lot of weekends were spent driving out because my dad loved driving and we would drive off to different places. My parents got divorced when I was about 7 or 8, around thereabout. So that's when a lot of the going out of town, the driving kind of stopped and you only became occasional. But that yearning to do it was always there. I enjoyed it, but I still hung around a lot with my dad at the workshop or around cars or things like that. So that never changed, or at events where he was, that kind of never changed. College, like I said, that was it. And then I met my husband in college. Of course, went on to do many things, and we went out for a very long time, 10 years almost. And then I think my father-in-law, to be at that point of time, just put his foot down and he said, now guys, either get married or don't, like this is enough. And he kind of gave me, he said, but after you get married, 1 year I'm giving you to do your racing and rallying, then it's gonna stop.
Okay.
It just so happened naturally. My last rally I was pregnant in my last rally and didn't realize it till after. So it was a natural stop at the end of 1 year in any case.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids.
Okay.
My daughter is will be 28 this year. My son will be 24. And my daughter lives with us in India at the moment, runs a healthy smoothie and a clothing brand. She's a budding entrepreneur doing 2 things, managing them. My son works in the financial sector in Singapore.
Okay. And tell us about Alisha Garments.
Alisha Garments, that was another baby. So that's my husband's baby actually. That's his garment business where I worked for almost, I think, 8-10 years because after my daughter...
You're still extending that support?
No, I don't. To be honest, in the last 6 or 7 years, I totally gave it up. But from my daughter was born in 95, so 96 onwards, 96 to about 2000 and I would say 12, 13, I kind of actively, 14 actually, even 2014, I was actively involved in doing that along with this alongside. This started, for me, journalism started in 2003, so I would juggle both. I used to head up the merchandising. So I started working with him because he needed the help, and then slowly started handling all the merchandising and the development and the sampling section. He's a garment export company. So I started doing all of that, and a lot of the buyers also still till today know me and follow both they're always talking to me about cars and garments. So yeah, it's great fun. They always ask me which car to buy now. So there was an interesting phase, not something I particularly wanted to do, just had to do at that point of time, got into it, did it, and when I think it was set enough to run on its own, I said, okay, I'm done.
Do you fumble, or how do you cover up your fumble in case you fumble when you're doing your reviews?
I do. I think I probably fumbled a lot of times during what we've been saying as well, but I think once you get used to public speaking, also when you're very sure of what you're saying. Sometimes when I'm testing a car and if we've had an argument and a lot of us don't agree, and my point of view is not the point of view of everybody else's, but we come to a general consensus and say, that's when I fumble more, because I'm not sure of, that's not my opinion technically sometimes, and I have to still be convinced of it. So that's when I fumble a lot more, but when I'm very sure of what I'm saying, I think I just know what I want to say and then I just say it. And I think practice makes perfect, so the more you speak to the camera, and I've been doing it for 20 years now, you kind of get used to it.
Now, we'll play a quick rapid fire round.
Okay.
And wherein I request you to try and answer in a shorter format.
Sure.
Maybe one word or
one
line.
Or the minimum possible.
Yeah. If you weren't an automotive journalist, what would you be?
A traveler.
A traveler. With no income?
I
Source
hope
of
some income.
Okay. Your current favorite car and why?
My current favorite car is actually I'm quite enjoying my own Audi A4 which I'm driving. I think a hugely underrated car because it's comfortable, it's got nice performance, it's great size for the city, a very good all-round car, and I think one of the better priced ones for its own range.
Yeah. Your favorite outfit?
My jeans and a t-shirt.
Jeans and a t-shirt. If you were to own a vintage car, what car would that be?
Oh, that would be the Humber. It's an old car it's one of my favorites, yeah.
Okay. What is one feature that you like the most?
In a car?
In a car.
Wireless charging. I hate wires. I just hate wires. My life is so full of them because we have to charge GoPros, charge phone, charge laptop, charge. Hate wires, and I never ever remembered to carry a wire in a car. There would be so many times I'd be stuck without my phone because I'd forgotten the wire at home. So wireless charger is like my saving grace.
What one feature you would like to add in the cars as a standard feature, whether it's a basic model or a top-end model?
Seatbelt reminder, rear seatbelt reminder.
I could sense that coming. One person that you admire the most in the industry?
I think my boss, my mentor, Hormo Surabji, for what he's built. His passion, his undivided love for what we do, his energy levels, there is just so much to respect. And the fact that, he gives opportunities like the ones he gave me, and the freedom to grow and to build and to do what you can do it's not everybody does it. It's not easy, and I think a huge amount of respect for that.
Okay. According to you, which one is better in terms of performance? A diesel or a petrol engine?
Diesel talk.
Diesel. I love that as well. But unfortunately, we live in Delhi. So
petrol for, I think, flat out acceleration, nothing like a good inline six. But that whack of torque you get from a diesel is also something really good.
I feel the same way. Your favorite car manufacturer that you think provides a overall package?
That's a tough one because it varies. Honestly, it does vary from segment to segment.
Let's talk about the common person. For a common man, what do you think is the best brand that you would recommend?
I think one of the cars in the recent past that did impress me was the Kia Seltos, which I bought because it was such a great package for value, for the kind of interiors, the features, the performance, the space, everything that you were getting packed into one car. It was pretty incredible and hard to fault at the point when it was launched. Of course, now there's a lot of competition, but at that point, I think it was one of the cars that kind of really stood out from the crowd. But like I said, again, it depends on segment to segment. Like I just told you about my Audi. I think that's great and where its range is. So I think it changes. It's not one particular manufacturer. If there's one particular manufacturer I have a little bit of sentimentality for, it's Ford. One of my first few cars was a Ford Icon, which I absolutely loved. And I'm really sad to have seen them left this country.
Yeah, me too. But some of my friends will be happy to hear that your favorite choice is Kia Seltos because they own that car. Japanese or Germans?
Practical Japanese, passion Germans.
Why do you say so?
That's BMW. It's a car you drive from the heart, and A Hyundai Ioniq is something you buy because, not German, maybe a Honda. You're saying Japanese, right? So then we're talking Honda. Honda is something you buy when you're more. Again, it's changed. You see, if you told me when the 1.5 VTEC was here, the Honda City, I would have maybe answered you differently. So that answer changes with time.
Okay, so now my next question is around that only. Mercedes, BMW or Audi?
Tough one. I think driver's car, BMW.
Okay.
Mercedes, comfort, luxury, leisure. And Audi is a balance between the two. I've always said this even when I talk about my cars or my reviews. I've always said that I think these three lanes, of course, things change, and again within cars they change, but this is the way I see them. But yeah, I'm
BMW.
I don't own one, but I'm saying BMW.
So you're saying for a driver the experience is better in BMW?
Yeah, the thrill of driving.
It gives you more power.
You know what? Cars are changing and evolving so much all the time. We've said it in our reviews that BMWs are now becoming more comfort focused and Mercedes are becoming more driver focused. So it keeps evolving. Yeah. That's why when so many people ask me which is your favorite car, and I keep telling them I cannot pick one. It changes. Today it'll be this, tomorrow it'll be that, and it keeps changing for me because I drive so many cars. Maybe if I didn't, I would have one.
Yeah.
But ask me which is a car I'd like to own is a Porsche for sure. If I had buckets of money and no bothers, I'd buy one. Well, for me, I think just now currently I think the Cayman, because Hormuz has one. We've been driving it, going in it, and it's just a pure passion car.
Okay. SUVs, sedans or hatchbacks?
I'm an SUV kind of person.
You like SUVs?
I like SUVs. I like that high up off the road, that tough build, I like that for general, but I have to say sedans have a different driving pleasure. And I'm glad to see sedans making a comeback in the Indian market. So yeah, but personally I'm an SUV kind of person.
I don't know if I can answer this correctly, but is your favorite SUV a Range Rover? No.
I wouldn't say necessarily. The Defender is pretty incredible. I mean, you just feel like you can decimate anything on the road with that car. But yeah, I owned a Scorpio at one point of time. I owned a Q5 at one point of time. So yes, I've had SUVs through my... I'd like something a lot more raw, in an SUV. More simple, more raw. That kind of an SUV, G-Wagon or something like that.
G-Wagon is raw?
It's much more, it's not comfort and luxury and it's more just an SUV. But in saying that, I mean, recently I drove the Urus Performante. That was something else because it's got a little bit of naughtiness, which is nice to also have in an SUV.
Okay. How many and what all cars do you own right now?
So in our family, we have, my husband loves Audis. He's an Audi man. So we have an Audi A6. I have the A4, which was presented to me by him. So a present I can't refuse. My daughter drives the Kia Seltos, which I had bought for myself. We have currently bought, believe it or not, an MG Hector.
Okay.
An interesting one because we needed an airport car. A lot of us travel up and down in the family, bags, suitcases. And we used to have an Innova which we sold. So we needed a replacement car. At the moment, only the Kia Seltos in the family fits all the bags if we need to come with the seats flipped down. So we needed an airport. We looked around for everything. Wasn't very impressed with the new High Cross and eventually landed up at the price point that it is. I think the MG Hector is great for what we want it for. If you ask me to sit in the driver's seat and drive that car, maybe not, but backseat comfort, space, it really does well. And it's huge on features too.
Which is the one favorite car that you had owned in the past, and why?
I think my Icon, my Ford
Icon?
My Fiat, because I won my first race in it. My Ford Icon, because it was just simply just such a fabulous driver's car. I really love that. My Q5, I enjoyed it thoroughly. Lasted me a whole load of years, and currently my A4.
Okay, so one more questions around this. How many cars have you owned so far?
So I started with my Fiat, then I had a Maruti 800.
That old one which was launched by Indira Gandhi? Are you talking about that
One after that.
One
after that, because I raced in it. And then I had, after that my car was a Scorpio. I used to drive the Scorpio. And after the Maruti and the Scorpio, what came next? Then we had a whole bunch of family cars. We had a Honda Accord, we had a 118NE, we had the Ford Mondeo. What else did we have? So many cars we've been through. The Hyundai Accent we had. Honda City we've had. So we've been through a lot of cars in our family.
I'm sure.
Of course the Q5, the A4, we had an E-Class. So yeah, varied cars through the ages. And being a BMW person, never a BMW, imagine that.
For whatever reason, although I'm not an
I think
expert and
my husband's a true Sindhi, and it was always the price point that mattered. So.
No, I feel Mercedes is I mean, that's what my personal choice is.
Yeah. So when the Q5 was coming, I really wanted the X5 at that point of time. Yeah, I said okay, I'll settle for an X3 also. I don't mind, because the X3 was at the price point that we were getting the Q5 at, and we went and saw both, and the Q5 was just a better deal at that point of time. But I have to say, I still enjoyed that car.
I'm sure.